It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
This is Straight Talk with Atlanta native Greg Penn, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shannon Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fan, the Preacher Man.
Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Penn, the Preacher Man, and Bishop Rollins. Hey, Dave, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Bishop, how about yourself?
Man, if I was doing any better, man, I'd be better. You know what I mean?
If I had your hand, I'd throw mine in.
If I had your hand and my hand, I have a strong hand. You know, Dave, today we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff, but
right.
Basically we're gonna talk about. Last week we talked about family. That was great with Judge Bowden. That was a great.
That was good. That was good.
We are going to have. I told you we're going to do something here at the church. We'll be telling people about it as soon as I can confirm it with the attorney. They're going to come and present to us to talk about estates, planning, wills, trust, and the kind of thing that he's talking about that I was not even aware of. That you can do those kinds of things before you pass and just kind of give your property to your son or your daughter or whoever, but y'all can be co-owners, but they can't do nothing with it until you're deceased, right?
Correct.
All right, so I know we're gonna ask all those kind of questions. Well, on the 27th of this month, we're going down to the Fulton County Elections and Registration Office, and you're certainly invited.
Okay.
You're certainly invited at 10 a.m. Well, they're gonna do a tour. Take us on a tour of the facility, but from the standpoint of how elections are held, and answer any questions we may have. We'll be able to know about registering people to vote, what happens they register to vote, and how they select election dates.
Okay.
When the election be held, special election, you know, because we're having a lot of special elections.
We have had,
because you were talking about that, you know, about all these different elections that we were having, the special elections.
Right.
How they come up with the date for these special elections, right?
Right.
So we'll be there with the people, the experts that's going to answer our questions. But neither you nor I, we're not experts on that, right?
We think we are. Yeah, the real experts. Okay.
So we're going to talk to the real experts about that, and then we'll be able to see how votes are cast, and then how they're tallied up.
Hold right there. You know, that I'm interested in that because. There was some under discussion about this past election, saying that no way Trump won all these states, and there could have been some shenanigans going on, and it was just bubbling under the surface. It didn't get to the point where the Republicans were saying that the election was stolen.
But you mean they did say it was stolen? Trump still said it.
Yeah, he's still saying that. But I heard a little chatter that Elon Musk may have done some things with the votes because there's no way that all the states went to the R. Okay. So I'm curious as to, can the votes be compromised and electronically and the paper ballots? How does that actually work? That's pretty good. I would love to. Obviously, all our viewers won't be able to go for us to see that, and if we can report back on that. That's pretty good.
Absolutely, we will. That's going to be 10. That's going to be at 10 o'clock on 27 at the Fulton County Voter Elections Office, 5600 Hamilton Fairburn Road. That's Highway 92, and so we'll be there and. They're going to be talking to us about it, and certainly we'll be back to explain to you what we know. You know, one reason I wanted to go tape is pretty much like what you were saying. We can talk about, you know, and the votes was stolen, or people stole the election. And we've been saying that for years, you know, especially when people lose. Right. They stole the election. I should have won that election because, well, that's your opinion. But the reality of it is that how votes are casted, how votes are counted, and then how they're stored, you know. Because we know in 2020, Trump had Juliana come in and talk about, well, Shay and her mother, they done did something with the votes and all that other kind of stuff, which was proven not to be true.
Right.
But yet still, he still sent them here to get the votes and who voted and what have you. But we believe he just wanted to find out people's name, addresses, and those kinds of things, and utilizing that information for other things, right? Because lately, how many scam calls have you been getting lately?
Well, I have a blocker on my phone.
You do?
I had to.
Right.
Because I was getting so many, to your point.
Sure.
I had to put that blocker on there.
Well, I want to know what blocker you got. I put a blocker on mine.
I had to.
I put a blocker on mine, but they still getting through.
I had to, because it was just back to back to back to back. And I never thought about why it happens, but it just kept happening.
Right. Well, I just really need to know, one, is about this, this blocker that you have. And I think others probably want to know what the name of it is too, because I got a blocker on my phone. They still get through.
So what it does is it just goes straight to voicemail.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, so I won't hear it. So if you're not in my directory, my phone, it won't ring. It'll just go straight to voicemail.
Oh, yeah.
Straight to voicemail.
Oh man, I need to know about that. I need that. We can talk about that offline.
Okay.
One thing, you live in Stockbridge.
Yes.
Okay. There's a lot of noise about your mayor out there. A lot of noise about your mayor. Someone called me today about it and said, you guys are going to get involved in it because they're trying to get rid of this young mayor out in Stockbridge. I said, well, I really don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about the young man. I don't know nothing about what happened in Stockbridge, why they want to remove him. Do you have any idea?
I truly apologize. I don't know either. Last I saw that there will be a meeting coming up on Saturday or something, and it's them for some unauthorized procurements. He's been checking someone, and they're checking him. You living in glass houses, don't throw stones, that type of thing. It's sad because I don't know if these are the same individuals that saved the city 5 years ago from becoming annexed. I don't know if these are the same individuals, but I know those guys 5 years ago, they stood together, and that's why we're not Eagles Landing. That's why we have Stockbridge the way it is. But it could be also there could be some changes because that was a different mayor then.
Okay.
And sometimes when changes occur like that, people get in their feelings, and they unfortunately
losers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, these things, I don't want to say they're human nature. They shouldn't be.
Right.
But sometimes lack of maturity. If our guy is not there, then we tend to want to pull the rug and uncover things. Or also when the new guy comes in, or lady, he or she start pulling the carpet up themselves and seeing some things. And so I don't know why this is happening. I hope it does not stain our city, especially with the makeup of that council. And they all look like us.
And that's the sad part of this because, this happened, look like every place that our council becomes predominantly black, we end up having a whole lot of foolishness coming out of the government, and we are, it's like we can't represent. Our egos get in the way. Our ego get in the way, and because we forget that we're elected to serve the people and not to be celebrities. And so I think that one thing that happened is most of our government councils and stuff like that, they want to be celebrities. They want to be on TV. They want to, having all of these parties and all these events and stuff like that. But where's the service for the people? What does the taxpayer get from it? I was in a conversation with someone earlier, and they asked me the question, and I said, well, first of all, this is what happened. Using you by example, Rollin Clay comes and says he wants to be our next city council, or our next commissioner,
Sure.
or our next governor, next whatever. So what Rollin Tate does, he has Greg Fann running against Rollin Tate. Greg said, I want to be the next one. So vote for me. Rollin Tate said, well, look, I'm already here. And I've done this and I've done that for you all. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And then so Rollin Tate he's already employed, but he has to put in another application to be re-employed, right?
Right.
But Greg Fann has never been employed. But Greg Fann comes in and Greg Fann said, well, I'll be a better employee for you than Rollin Tate.
Sure.
Because one is we both looking for a job
Most definitely.
to work for the people.
Exactly.
Right? You want to continue, I want an opportunity.
Most
right?
definitely.
So then once I get in, this I defeat you. Now I got the job. So I get in the job, and so I'm working now in the job, and then I find out things that I didn't know before when I took the job. I didn't know it was paying this little money. I didn't know I had to put that much time in it. I didn't know that the city didn't have all the money that we need to have to do the parks that I promised, or to have the street paved that I promised, all the things that I promised in my platform. I didn't know these things when I was running, right?
Right.
Because I didn't do any research. I just felt that I could do a better job than you.
Correct.
Right. But I didn't have any institutional knowledge. I had no experience, none of that. So now I'm running. Okay, I get the job. So I get it. Well, I'm now the man. So I'm in the seat. So I got the budget. I can do what I want to do with my budget. Supposedly I can, but not really I can't, because there's still guidelines and rules and regulations as to how I spend taxpayers' money, right? So you got all these people in there, and now they're in office, and they want to do what they want to do and act as though it's a social club. Now people act city social club. We don't abide by no rules. You know, you don't tell us that our time is up, and I'm elected like you, I'm a part of like you. So now we're sitting at a meeting and we're arguing over pennies. We're arguing back and forth over pennies and how these pennies gonna be spent. Because I'm looking at, hey, you can't outdo me, and I ain't gonna let you outdo me, because if you're doing this, then I'm gonna do this, and you're doing this, I'm gonna do that. So now we're arguing, and our egos are getting in the way. So the people who employed us, the people who employed us, now they're suffering.
Right.
They're sitting back and looking at all of this foolishness, but they don't understand why y'all acting like that. I ain't talking about you, because you don't understand why we acting like that. Why are we acting like that? You know, we were elected to serve the people in our own self-serving interests, right? So this is what I see when too many times when they elect all of us. And I don't say, and I'm not negating or advocating rather, that black people can't serve. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that people get in there, and too many times people get in there and they forget that they're there for the sole purpose they were hired, and that was to look out for the interests of the people who hired them, and that's the taxpayers.
And there, to your point, Bishop, there are always underlining issues that surfaces issues that surfaces on the top. So we need to understand, even as it relates to Stockbridge, why is this happening? What is going on to all of a sudden bring this to light? If this has been going on for years, so why now? Is it because we have a new mayor and the new mayor came in to clean up corruption? Mm-hmm. Or is it that the new mayor is in and the old guard is showing what he's doing? And you know, they always talk about in politics, beyond Stockbridge, we're going to bring in an outsider. That's Rick Jackson. Okay. I'm an outsider. Trump, I'm an outsider. We're going to clean up the swamp. And then what do? You become part of the swamp.
Or create another swamp.
Right. And so the next candidate, he or she comes and say that this person is part of the establishment. So Keisha is running ads to show that Jackson say I'm Trump 2.0, so I'm part of the establishment. So you were an outsider at one point. Now you want to be part of the establishment. And depending on who you're talking to, you're part of the solution or you're part of the problem.
Let me ask you this question then. Since you brought that up, do you think that government should be ran like a business?
Well, no, because, well, let me preface this. Business do have rules. They have guidelines. And government has guidelines too. Businesses, they have, your CEO, your president, the buck stops with you. Whereas in government, there are different layers before it gets to that person. Now, ultimately, the governor, the president, whomever, it stops with them. But there's different layers between that. It's checks and balance. I don't think there's many checks and balances in business, whereas there are in government. And I tell you another one, church. I know you're a pastor. I'm not a pastor.
Right.
But we have a board. You're a founder.
Right.
And churches who have hired pastors, they have checks and balances.
Right.
Churches who are founders, you and Bishop Lackey,
Right.
it's, you report to God. I get all that. I get all that. So we're not talking about that. But there's not many checks and balances because as a founder. So businesses, I started my business from my basement. There's not many checks and balances. I can will it to my son, to my daughter. Government, you can't do that because there are checks and balances. And Trump, I believe in his first term, he wanted to run it as his business, but he had government people there who kept the Constitution as his check and balance. The new group he has, they're more of, you can run it as a business because we are here to support your vision for your country.
For your business.
Right.
Yeah, for your business.
Right. And he saw it as a business, so he profit from it.
Right. And still profit.
And still profit, exactly. So government should have checks and balances. Businesses do not have as many checks and balances.
Well, I think the one that your analysis of this president and because there is a check and balances there for him. It's just those people who do not uphold the checks and the balances.
Correct.
Because Congress and the Senate is in place for the checks and balances.
Correct.
The Supreme Court is in place
Correct.
for the checks and balances. But what they are doing is they're allowing him to do when the first thing they did when they said you cannot do what during the president? A president has what? Total immunity. Right? When they gave him total immunity, that was it.
Right.
That opened up the floodgate. But the president doesn't have total immunity because when you ask the question if who is above the law, then if the president has total immunity, you're saying that he's above the law. So whatever he does, it's all get away with. But see what they did, they skewed it by saying, well, as long as he's in office, he can do that. But when he's out of office, then he has to be held accountable for those laws that he broke, right? But in the meantime, he has tore up the country. Right. He has tore the house down. He done tore down the whole east wing of the Capitol.
But right? As a business owner, you can do that.
Right, I know it.
See,
that's what I'm saying.
Right, as a business owner, you can wake up one morning and say, I have this box for my business, and I'm going to add a room. You don't even have to call. You should call the county and get some type of permit. But if you want to just start going in the backyard and adding a room to it, that's your business. As a founder of a church, No, you report to your members.
Right.
You probably could stand up in the pulpit and say, this wing you added.
Right.
I wanna add this wing.
Right.
But if you were a hired pastor and you felt that way, you may have to go through the trustees.
Right.
You have to go to the board of directors and you have to put a plan out because you are not the founder.
Well, let me stop that point. Even being the founder, you have to catch vision and you have to get the support of the people.
Right.
Because you can't do anything without the support of the people.
Right.
The people will follow your leadership. If you're a founder or a non-founder, if you're casting vision and you are proven to be trustworthy and all those other things in the eyes of the people, then they'll follow it. But the reality of it is to a point that you made earlier in terms of business. I remember working for a security company years ago at Southern Bell, and every time they brought in a new director or a new person, they could have just bought furniture, could have just changed that wing, could have just had it painted. They come in and take everything that's and been in there 6 months, take it out and new, and put it in a warehouse somewhere, and store it in a warehouse somewhere. I mean, because that's a private business and that's the way they run. They didn't ask anybody. They had a budget, they could do it, and they did it, right? Yeah. But see, what happens is in government, there has to be a system where there's a check and balances, and it should be the council on the local level.
Right.
It should be the commissioners on the commission level, and it should be the state house representative on the state house level, right? Because if you think about it, the governor, he passes a budget. He proposes a budget, right? And they have to vote to pass that budget on both houses, right? Just like with Trump, he only can present a budget, then they have to pass the budget that he presents. That's why we had a lot of thing about the big bills and all of that, because the budget. But see, in government, you have to have people with integrity. See, and that's the problem is we're electing people who don't have integrity, and they're in it for self-aggrandizement, and they're in it for selfish reasons for themselves and their family, and enriching themselves and family. I'm like, I wasn't for this years ago, but the older I get, I'm more for term limits.
Yes.
I think that we need to look at term limit for not just the president, but for offices throughout the government. Because some people get in there and they stay too long, they don't do anything, they help the people, they just to further enrich themselves, right? So I think we ought to be stagnant terms. So I don't think you ought to get rid of everybody at one time, because that's when you have confusion. Because as you know, you need institutional knowledge. Right. Because there's certain things that's institutionalized that somebody coming in don't know. Now, probably a problem with what he is down in Stockbridge, because he come in not knowing, he's young, he's energetic, and there's a lot of information that he doesn't have, and he may not be willing to listen to people who have the institution, like whether it's the finance director, whether it's the police chief, what department heads, whoever it may be fellow council people, but that's some institutional knowledge that they have that he doesn't have because he's brand new. See, one of the things that people have to do when you're new coming into an elected body, just like on a job, when you come on a job, you can't come on a job being a know-it-all. Right. Because you don't know where the body's at. You don't know you come in trying to change something that's already been tried to be changed that did not work. We had to go back to what we were doing. That's true. And I give you a perfect example. The young lady who was the CEO was a young lady. They made a CEO of Cracker Barrel. You may have heard about it. Mm-hmm. She came in and she gonna change this and change that, and people went to complaining about this ain't working, folks ain't coming in no more, and what have you. They had to let her go because she tried to change it to modernize what young people want. Right. But the clientele was not young people; they were older people.
Now, you that's interesting.
Yeah.
The young, because they're strong.
Right.
But the old, because they know the way.
Right.
The young people, it seems like that's it's a tug between their ideas and the wisdom that that experience has there.
Can you hold that point and we will come back to that. But that's a key point right there you finna make right now. We'll be back on the other side with Tape and myself, and we got more and more information to talk about the young and the old. I call the young because they're strong, and the old because they know the way. Because I know when I was young, I thought I knew everything too.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast, or more or less. Hey, Bishop Greg. Hey, Pastor Shannon. I'm Miss C. Listen, I got a few tidbits to tell you about. Faith Memorial Church at 1676 Old Rex Morrow Road in Morrow, Georgia, they're excited to announce that they're going to start their church services at 10 a.m. beginning September 6th. My good friend Bishop Ray Neal is the pastor there. The second anniversary of the Royal Priesthood Chorale will be held September 6th, 6 p.m. at the Cathedral of Faith, Church of God in Christ, 1137 Avon Avenue in Southwest Atlanta. Dr. Arthur F. Mosley is pastor. Guests include the Royal Priesthood Chorale, the Southeast Alabama Regional Chapter of the Gospel Music Workshop of America, Professor William Dillard and Company, the Gadsden City Community Choir, the Atlanta Masonic Choir, and the Birmingham chapter of the Gospel Music Workshop of America. The GMWA is making a comeback. Our church is headquarters for Atlanta, and our own Reverend Kenyatta Arnett is the president of the chapter for Atlanta. Listen, Elder Charles Ransom is celebrating 73 blessed years on earth and 23 years on radio. That's September 4th and 5th, 7 p.m. nightly at Greater True Vine Church of God in Christ, 13191 Veterans Memorial Highway in Douglasville. The guest speaker on September 4th will be Bishop Norman Harper of Kelly Lake Church of God in Christ. And on September 5th, it will be my good friend Apostle Bessie Arnold of Deliverance of Faith. Superintendent Morgan Green is pastor of Greater True Vine. Now listen, I'd like you to do 4 things for me. I would like for you to subscribe. I'd like for you to like us, and those little buttons are found right there on the screen. I would like for you to leave comments. Let us know how we're doing. And also, please share us. Don't keep Straight Talk News to yourself. Let everybody know we are Straight Talk News and we are here to stay. Okay? We certainly would appreciate that. And listen, if you'd like to have your event announced, just email it to us, straighttalknews1362 at gmail.com. That's straighttalknews1362 at gmail.com. And we'll be glad to get it on for you, okay? Now listen, in the meantime and in between time, may the Lord God bless you real good. Bye.
I was in my parents' room.
I was just playing ball. I was in our garage.
And I found a gun.
But I knew what to do.
Stop! Don't touch! Leave! Tell an adult!
Oh, you were talking about the young and the old.
It's an interesting dynamic because it takes an old soul and a young spirit to make it merge.
Right.
Because if a young person with an old soul, they understand to sit down and get information from the old person. But an old soul with a young spirit understands too that that young person can probably take us to the next level.
Right.
But like I said earlier, there's some underlying undercurrent that causes a lot of problems. And even right now, I'm dealing with I'm the chairperson of our family reunion.
Right.
And we got the older and the younger, and the young people have told us what they wanted, and the older people saying, well, this is what this is what we should do. But the young people have told us what they wanted. So I'm listening to the older people, and I heard what the young people want. So you have to figure out a way, because they still have ideas. And I remember when when Bishop Lackey installed one of our young pastors, he told him, and I'll never forget this, he said, "You're 35, you're not 50. And he told the members, he's 35. He's not going to pastor like he's 50. He's not going to pastor like he's 60. He's 35. He may make some mistake because he's 35. But what you have to do is understand the 60-year-old needs you just as much as the 35-year-old. Now, we don't have the answer, but you have to understand that there's a dynamic there. So when the young mayor comes in, 21, 22, he or she has to understand that, I have these older people here for a reason. But the problem is, if they supported the old person who would be, and politics can be nasty.
Right.
And I don't like the way he said this about him, or he said this about her, and that old mayor was good, but he shouldn't have said those things. But you're now here to show the way. And to your point, it's about the people now. It's not about your buddy. Right. It's about the people. Right. So can we move past us to see the bigger picture? That's for the young and the old.
Well, let me share a concept that I've used. Is I will say something, but then I will ask young people, "What do you think about it?"
Yeah.
What do you think about it? What do you think about it?
Yeah.
And then once they tell me what they think about it, and I listen to that, then I say, "Well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that?" You know what I'm saying? To get them for something to think about, but not tearing down their ideas, but giving them something to think about. Because see, one of the things that I've learned is if you give them something to think about, and then they go and try what they said, and then what you said, it come to pass, then the next time they come to you and asking you what you think about.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you're going to tear them down initially, then they're not coming back to you.
Right.
But they'll come back to you if they see you giving them wise counsel and wisdom. Right. See, but if you just gonna tear them down, but that don't make no sense. Oh, we ain't gonna do that. Well, yeah. And one of my members here gave. We had a meeting, and we were talking about finances, right?
Okay.
And so her idea was that just put up with the finances is and let people know what the finances is of the church on Sunday, on first Sunday. Oh, when it hit me, I was like, "Oh, man, I don't need to do that. I don't understand myself. I don't need to do that." And then the other members, some of the older members, like, nah, that don't make no sense. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. And see, like you said, nah. So we don't need to do that. And then so I sit there and I listened to her, and I said, "Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do what you said. I'm going to take your what you said, and we're going to do it. Now, if it works,
right,
we're going to continue. But it'll be my idea.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work,
right,
then we'll just scrap it.
Right.
But we're gonna do it. And I told the older members, we're gonna do it. And just what she said to do, that's what I do, even today. And when the members see what the bills are and what need to be paid, and some who do not even come to church here, when they see the financial need, they send their money. Or they get the money to meet the financial need.
Right.
And then when I thought about it, remember the old church, right? They would have on the wall how much money was raised, and, with this, that, and the other. And I said, they used to do it like that. I said, well, this may be something we can try. And we tried it, and that's what we do. Every first Sunday, we put it up on, go out live and everything.
Yeah.
But people know. But I listened to her, and, and it worked. See, you got to know when to at least give what they're suggesting a try.
Most definitely.
And if you give it a try, if it works, it's to the good for everybody.
But even if it didn't work, she knows that she had buy-in. You had buy-in.
Right.
Because she's not just, you just not there to give money and you tried it. You tried it and you tried it and it worked, it didn't work, but you tried it.
Right.
And that's where I think the young and the old have to find that balance. And so whatever's going on in the Stockbridge, why it's happening now, it's in the media now. It's been leaked rather, and now it's a cast on the whole city.
Right.
So what's going on in Stockbridge? Why is it like that?
Well, it was like that in East Point. It was like that in South Fulton. It was like that in College Park. I mean, every black city except for one, Union City, they haven't aired their dirty laundry in public. One time when
is that when the mayor,
West,
the mayor who was on somebody's property?
Yeah, Khalid, South Fulton. But Khalid, that was in South Fulton. But it was one years ago when the waiters got killed in Union City. And we went down there because the mayor and some members of the county, they stalled the investigation and they wouldn't get rid of the chief. But eventually they got rid of the chief, and they haven't been in the media since then.
Okay.
But College Park, East Point, Union City, Fairview, South Fulton.
Fairview been in there? Seriously, I didn't know.
Yeah, Fairview been in the media.
Okay.
Liz Hirschman, Liz was there.
I remember her.
But all of those cities have been in the mail because see we in the news because we air our dirty laundry out publicly.
Okay.
We do that because we're thinking that the TV is our friend. The media is our friend, but it's not our friend. It's not our friend. It's not our friend. So I tell people that all the time. It's not your friend. See, when you're serving, you're there for the least, the less, the lost, and the left out. I live by that. I believe that. When I served for the least, the less, the lost, and the left out. I looked out for the people. Even to the day, I'm still looking out for the people. Because that's what it's all about. Because God said, if you don't, you're going to hell. So I don't want to be destined for hell. I want to go to heaven. Everybody that want to go to hell, have at it, But I'm not trying to do that. So I'm sharing this today on Straight Talk because this is where we are. We are afraid to look back at our history. We're afraid to look back at our history as to where we have come as a people and how we got here. They had differences. I mean, Frederick Douglass, the Balls, all of that.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
They had differences, but they stayed focused on what was the purpose. What are we doing here? We're trying to liberate our people, and we had different ways and means of liberating our people. But they were together.
King and Malcolm X had differences.
They had differences.
Right.
They had differences, but it's how they came together to help liberate our people. We all don't see things eye to eye.
No.
God didn't mean for us to see things eye to eye.
Right.
You and I, we had some things, but we didn't see things eye to eye.
Right.
I mean, but it did stop us from still doing what we're doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you had a way of doing it, I have a way of doing it. We all do. See, if we can put our egos to the side and look at what is our objective, what are we trying to accomplish here?
But I think, Bishop, politicians, just to even run that race, you have an ego.
You do.
Or you have some type of drive in you that others may not have. And I don't know a politician for the weak, because if you don't have that dog in you, I don't know of any nice. Now, and some people talk about Barack Obama. Obama had some dog in him, because if you read some of the things that he did as a councilman, as an alderman in Chicago, there are some people who did not like some things he did.
Right.
And there are some bodies, as you say, there are some bodies out there that some of these politicians have done. Now, we all reverence John Lewis, but I'm sure if we find enough people, they'll tell you John Lewis did some stuff.
If you really think about it, you think about Julie Bond and John Lewis. in that race and how dirty that race was.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, so I hear what you're saying, but at the end of the day, we still have to come together.
Right.
We can't. Everybody got an ego. Everybody got an ego, and whether your ego is for politics or for business or whatever it is, we all got an ego. But the reality of it is, you got to stay focused on what's your purpose. And see, Satan has drove a wedge between us. Because I keep saying they took our history, we gave away our heritage, right? Because what we were the beloved community. We knew how to love one another. Because Miss So-and-so them, they may didn't like each other in the community. But when it came to that community, everybody was together.
Right.
So everybody was together.
Agree.
There was no division in that community. Don't care if you stayed in public housing, whether you stayed in a neighborhood, everybody was together.
Right.
You know, because the people who lived, our ancestors, who lived before us, they understood one thing. We have to be together because all we have is God and each other.
So the economics divide us? Did you think prosperity? My car is bigger than your car. My child is. Did we start measuring against each other? Successes.
But it's the ego again. It's a success. Well, I'm now living on and Buckhead. I'm now living in Cascade, which was prime area. I'm now living in Stockbridge. I'm now living in Henry County. And I want to say this because this is true. What they did was they always black people on one side of the track in one city and another city on the other side of the track, right? That's where we live. That's how they lived. That's how they knew where you were from, were you from this place or that place, how we lived on different sides of the track. So they knew how to corral us. What they did was, and I told people years ago, when they started moving people out of Atlanta to doing away with public housing, that was your affordable housing then. When you do away with public housing, which is prime land, and then they got these big restaurants and bigger hotels or apartments and stuff on that land now, and they ran people who could not afford to be here, and they said, okay, well, the taxes are too high. People said the taxes are too high, so I'm gonna move the Douglasville. I'm gonna move to DeKalb County. I'm moving all these different places. Now, what I shared with people a long time ago, I said, listen, guys, y'all moving to this, like say Stockbridge, y'all moving to Stockbridge, okay? The reason the taxes are a little cheaper, because one, you don't have police, you don't have fire, you don't have public work, you don't have parks, you don't have schools. You know what I'm saying? You don't have all those infrastructure things that you have in the city of Atlanta, right? So it costs money to run these things. How do you run these things? With tax money, with taxes, right? Correct. So now people run out there, now they're paying higher taxes, and they say, well, my taxes going up. I say, my taxes are going, yeah, your taxes going to go up. You're requiring more services. Roads out that were down there that were dirt roads, right? They had to be paid. Right. Now they're paved roads. Correct. And they have to be repaid, striped, right? The lights have to be put up where there was no traffic light, maybe a stop sign. Now you got traffic lights, right? I mean, you got all these things now where you didn't have police, what you had with the county police, and the county police took care of the whole of the county, right? But which you paid taxes to the county, but you didn't pay county and city taxes. Right. You see what I'm saying? So now these are the things that you're seeing that's happening now, and now we have people out on the outskirts of Atlanta that now they living like the people in Atlanta, paying more property taxes. I have a friend built a house down in Sonoy. Yep. And went bought that land, built a house. And all that other land that was over there, some developer came in, bought that land, built a whole subdivision over there. Houses started at $400,000 and some and up. Which her house that she built, maybe because when she built it for $250,000, $300,000. Now she's paying taxes. The road she was on was a dirt road. Now it's a paved road. Now she paying taxes on the same assessed value of those houses of $400,000 or $500,000. You see what I'm saying? So there is an understanding that you can run, but you can't hide.
So I guess it's the chicken and the egg.
Yeah, that's the chicken and the egg.
You know, I grew up in the inner city. Grew up when I left college. My mom lived on Shepherd Circle off Camilton, and came back from college, and the community changed. A lot of violence, a lot of crime. Schools would start going down. And so why did that happen? Don't know. But
I'll tell you why it happened.
okay.
The people left and went further out. The people and the older people, the younger people like yourself, went to school, came back to school, took it, and then invest back in the neighborhoods that they grew up in. They moved out in other neighborhoods. That's what happened because the change, and then you took the problem with you. Wherever you went, the problem came too. You know, when they were talking about, we don't want buses here, we don't want buses there. You got buses, you got crime, you got criminals coming, you got buses. People come wherever you got all modes of transportation, right? So it's a mindset of people. Because in the neighborhood you grew up in, and you grew up in public houses, there was crime in the public houses. But the people policed that area, right?
Right.
I mean, but see what happened? You had a different set of people.
It's ironic you mentioned that. I never felt unsafe in John Hope, nor Harris home, not even Perry home.
Right.
But when I came back and we lived off Camilton Road, it seems like it was ratchet up. Or maybe I was older and I was more aware of what was going on. But growing up as a little boy in those housing projects, I never felt unsafe.
Right.
I mean, we went to the grocery store, we walked around at night, but it was in that little community.
Right,
Now, I would go from People Street to Sales Avenue, and it was not a big deal. And Mom wasn't worried about us walking around in the housing project.
Right.
But I would have never have done that when I was 21, 22, 23, 24 on Camilton Road, Lorenzo Drive, Shepherd Circle, DeLoe. I would have never done that at that age.
Okay.
And those were houses.
And they were the elites of the houses, because our people had moved out of public housing into those areas. But these are the same people. These are the same people that came out of public housing where you weren't afraid. But now they're over here, you're afraid. The same people. It's the same people. So you ask yourself, what happened? And see, this is what happened. People left the love of the community to be loved community, because people were neighbors. People cared about each other. People looked out for each other. You know, I don't even know the first thing they know. First thing they know to me, I don't know. You knew everybody that stayed, and you know them.
Yeah. John Hope, Harris home,
it's just like me on Hunter Street. I knew everybody stayed on our street. I knew every people who stayed on the street behind me. People stayed on the street around the corner, because the kids, we were all, you know.
Yeah, we knew each other.
You know each other. So everybody knew it, and parents knew each other. They knew each other.
Right.
And they knew how to, because, and see, and if we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have all of that.
No.
The closest thing we had to a cell phone was a cup and a string.
So that was when I got married, my wife, you know, we moved where we probably wouldn't move today, to Riverdale Road.
Okay.
Because Riverdale Road has become that place now.
Right.
So we were on Riverdale Road, we were in Union City,
Right.
and all of those places, probably not the greatest places today, but back then, so something happened. So eventually we moved to Ellenwood, the Henry County part of Ellenwood, because we were looking at the school system.
Right, for your kids.
Right.
Right.
But I always tell people, I grew up in Atlanta public schools.
Right.
We have valedictorian.
Right.
We have salutatorian.
Right.
We have people who are lawyers.
Right.
We have doctors came out of APS.
Right, we do.
We had knuckleheads like me who came out of APS,
Right,
but
right.
are knuckleheads in Henry County. So they're all the school system. I don't think it's the problem. It's the students applying, because teachers can teach. Now the resources may not be. They may not have had as many resources in APS as they had in these county places. But the school and the work, those teachers were just as good in APS as they were in the other counties.
Well, let me tell you, prior to that, I'm dating myself. I'm 10 years older than you. And when we went to school, and we had desks where people had wrote on the desks. We had the white kids tests given them. We had youth tests. We had books that didn't have any backs on.
Okay.
We had books with no pages.
Okay.
And that's why our parents bought encyclopedias,
Okay.
So we had all those things. But we were fortunate, though, living on Hunter Street, because we had a library right across the street from us.
Yeah,
right?
I know where it is.
So, we had some amenities and we had something, but what we had most of anything was we had parents that were concerned about us getting our education, no matter what school you went to. You had to do your homework. You had to study. You had to do these things because parents cared. See, I think where we are now is we think that if you go to this school, you get a better education. You go to this school or college or whatever. It educates. You got people that's more learned that never went to college, that read books. They got the same, because the only thing college basically taught you is how to comprehend and have be disciplined to study. But basically, if you sit down and go to the library and read books and study those books and gather the information, you can be a scholar and never have gone to anybody's school. I mean, that's just real talk. But it's left up to an individual.
And that was one of my things.
Yeah.
Because when I went to school, I left Washington.
Right.
And I didn't apply myself.
Right.
It wasn't Washington's fault. It was me.
Right.
And then when I went to school to Mercer, it showed, because I didn't have any study habits.
Right.
But I can't blame Washington for that.
Right.
Because we had students there who went on to other schools, colleges, and did well.
Right.
So it was the school problem. None of us would have done well.
Right.
Now, eventually, I caught on.
Right.
But that was my fault.
Right.
That wasn't Washington. Washington gave me the opportunity. I just didn't apply myself.
Yeah.
And I think when we kind of drift into something else,
Well, no, that's good.
when we as parents can take the attitude that, hey, my child has to apply his or herself, then they can do better. Now, I didn't realize, I tell you this, that what I didn't have until I went to Mercer.
Right.
Because I did see a different life. And I think exposure allows you to open your eyes. I didn't realize that there was something else.
Better.
Right.
If you apply it yourself.
But yeah. Or different.
Right.
Because all I saw was what I had. I hadn't gone on an airplane, but also I didn't read.
Right.
I didn't read books. I read Sports Illustrated,
Yes.
but I didn't read.
Yeah.
So I learned how to read. I knew how to read, but what I was reading did not broaden my horizon.
Right.
I wanted to be an athlete because I read Sports Illustrated, but I didn't see the pond. I didn't read what goes on in New York, what goes on in Los Angeles, in Chicago,
and around the world.
Right.
And around the world.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Global geography was very important for me growing up, and understanding other parts of the world.
Right.
And one thing that Mrs. Boone, Andrea Boone, was kind of person. Her mother was my French teacher.
Okay.
Cut a class every day. And because I didn't want to, part of me was going to say, Mademoiselle, Monsieur. And so Miss Boone, when she see me, she said, you could have been speaking foreign language right now, but you had to cut my class every day.
Yeah.
But to your point, music, the band was
Yeah.
my thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The band was my thing. I was trying to learn all that stuff. But let me share with you. You told that story. I was 24 years old when I decided to go back to school. I went to Cal College,
Okay.
taking remedial courses. I had in my class, I had white kids. Because they had already said that white kids are smarter than black kids and all that. So, I'm sitting there, that these are kids who just now getting out of high school in remedial courses. And these are some kids who were still in high school that were doing John enrollment. And when I realized, and I'm 24 years old, they're 18 years old, 19 years old. And they were not smart at all. And when I'm 24 years old, I've been out of school for a few years, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, I've been deceived. And I found out that nobody is more smarter than you. It's how you apply yourself at any age. When I look and see people at 90 years old and all of that, graduating, getting their diplomas and degrees and all that stuff, it's your desire to want to learn and to do better for yourself. And with that note, we're going to end this up. And thank you so much, Dr. Tate, Dr. Rollin Tate, for being here with me on Straight Talk. And this ain't been nothing but Straight Talk. Yours to the great fan preacher and Rollin Tate. And guess whose name we didn't mention? For one time. Because we ain't thinking about it. We turned them over to Jesus and letting the Lord work it out. This ain't been nothing but what? Straight Talk.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fan at FANN922@Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shannon Jones and Greg Pan, the Preacher Man.